Welcome to our Network Tri-Cities Luncheon. I'm Lori Mattson, the President and CEO of the Tri-City Regional Chamber. We're very pleased to present today's program, which is the importance of place, why place matters in economic development, featuring Brian Bonlender, the Director of the Washington Department of Commerce. The importance of place is a very timely topic here in the Tri-Cities. Last year, our community launched a new branding campaign to put the Tri-Cities in a position to succeed as a destination not only for tourism, but for economic development too. We partnered with our partners Tridec, I know Carl's here and some of his staff, and also Visit Tri-Cities and the ports. We have all of our community stakeholders working on this project. One of the best community marketing experts in America visited our region and crafted a visionary plan to make the Tri-Cities stand out in the Northwest, even against the Seattle and Portland areas. The plan identifies many great things we have in our community: great weather, outdoor recreation, and a quality of life that provide a solid foundation for success. It also identified many areas that we can develop into strong assets for the future: foster growth in the arts, revitalize our downtowns, create innovative office spaces for the next generation of workers, and take steps for destination facilities like a performing arts center. And these are just a few. The new brand is not just a new logo or fist pumps and exclamation points. It's about embracing a vision to create an even more vibrant region in the years ahead. This rebranding will take time and a lot of work, but by taking these steps we're taking today, this will get us closer to the bright future ahead, making the Tri-Cities the place that people want to live. A new trend is quickly emerging. People no longer move where they find a job. They move to the city they want to live in, and then they find a job. Recent studies show that today most people want to live in urban centers rather than small towns and rural communities. According to Robert Lang, a professor of urban growth and population dynamics at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, people now prefer communities that have dense downtowns because they offer the lifestyle and opportunities they seek. To them, those amenities and opportunities are worth the added costs of living in a more expensive place. The place is what matters most. So we're very pleased that Brian Bonlender is here today to further discuss this trend so we can all gain insight into how this impacts the Tri-Cities and what we can do differently as it relates to community and economic development strategies so that we're evolving with the times. Each month, our Awards and Recognition Committee selects a member business to be recognized as Outstanding Member of the Month. And this month, the Regional Chamber is pleased to announce Brashears Photography as our Outstanding Member for July. Rich and Mary Ann Brashears have owned and operated Brashears Photography for 15 years. And in that time, they've received numerous awards and accolades, including Washington's Wedding Photographer of the Year. They are passionate about their work and love to teach others the art and business of photography, which led to the opening of Forte Studios, a co-op studio for other photographers to learn and develop their skills. Rich Brashears is the president of the Professional Photographers of Washington and has served in several capacities in that organization. He's also the past school director for Evergreen School of Professional Photography. This year, our local Red Cross named Rich Brashears a humanitarian hero for his work volunteering as part of the organization Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep. They're a wonderful example of entrepreneurship and membership, and they're also really nice people. Please help me welcome Rich and Mary Ann Brashears to accept their award. So, Rich does all of our photography at our major events and takes our staff photos, so we'll get his picture, but we won't make him take this picture. So now I'd like to turn the program over to Ron Bonninger, who's the chair of our chamber board, to lead us through the rest of our program. Ron?
Thanks, Lori, and thanks for everyone being here. It is always just a great crowd. I love the attendance at these luncheons. Lori talked a little bit about branding, and branding is about product. It's about having great things in our Tri-Cities that people want to come see. A couple months ago, I saw a guy speak. His name was Eric Ralston, and Eric was a pretty dynamic speaker, and his topic was building businesses in the Tri-Cities. But he really had a more important general message. Most of his slides did not have words, but all of them had a coordinated and powerful, simple thought. Eric said, pick something and do it really well. One goal, one objective, one dream, have a focus. And I really like that message. Those of you that know me, I kind of live that message. I'm very boring. People want to talk about the weather or place to eat or something, and all I want to talk about is entrepreneurship and building small businesses. You know, that's my focus, and I always try to get into a conversation, and it gets kind of old for people. For us, there's a lot of people in this room, and I'm very thankful for them, that focus on things that are going to make us great. Innovative new office space, the Reach, Hanford's history, our sports events, fun festivals, fun events. I'm sure I'm missing something, improving our airport, right? So there's already focus, but my message today to everyone is pick one of those things, focus on it, maybe just a little more, maybe in a new way, because those things will start creating these great things in our community that people want to come and see. They'll recognize that. They'll recognize the passion and the love we put into these things, and they're going to want to come, and they're going to want to stay. So that, to me, we talk about this a lot, but it's a key part of what branding is all about. So with that, economic development is very critical to our region. And we as a business community know that better than anyone else and can make it happen. It's important that our region puts its best foot forward so we can grow economic opportunity in the Tri-Cities. And I'm looking forward to Director Bonlender's remarks today, because he's talking about place, he's talking about community, and that's what our focus can continue to create together. First, I want to welcome Elizabeth Holt, the Regional Chamber's Membership and Marketing Director, to present membership plaques to our newest members. Elizabeth. I'm going after him.
Hi there. Thanks, Ron. Like Ron said, I'm excited to welcome some of the Chamber's newest members today who were able to join us. If I call your name, please come forward and pose for a group photo with Ron. First off, we have Holly Vandermate with Brookdale Meadows Springs. We have Junis Khan with Carbitex. Joseph Rastovich with CloudSigns.tv. Christy Rasmussen with Christ the King. Kyle and Melissa Edberg with Dream Dinners. We have Troy Woody with Hot Solar Solutions, Chris Lapp with i3 Global, Joe Fisher with Quality Signs, and Kershed Sherivov with Solar Spirits. Please join me in welcoming these new members. Next, we would like to recognize some of the Chamber's longstanding members. The members I will mention have been members for 20 years or longer. We have Benton PUD, Trios Health, the Port of Kennewick, Amco Transmissions, Columbia Crest Eye Care, Muller Funeral Home, Travel Leaders, John's Auto Mart, Northwest Golf Carts, Tri-City Herald, Clearwater Dental, Yakima Federal Savings and Loan, Hall Engineering Associates, Pepsi Cola, Pacific Recycling, Country Gentleman Restaurant and Catering, B&B Express Printing, Beacons Moving and Storage, West Door Jewelry, Henry's Restaurant and Catering, Safeguard, Fast Signs, Images, Tip Pit, Desert Buick, Toyota Center and Toyota Arena, and Tri-City Cleaners. We appreciate your longstanding participation with the Chamber. Thank you to all of our longstanding members. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I say this every time. We're nothing without our members. The ones that renew and the new ones, it's what couldn't do anything. Thank you. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our guest and keynote speaker, Brian Bonlender. Director Bonlender has 20 years of experience in the public and private sector. Throughout his career, he has worked on key legislative priorities in a range of industries, including agriculture, information technology, aerospace, maritime, and clean energy. A native of Yakima, he served as Chief of Staff and primary economic advisor for then Congressman Jay Inslee, and was appointed by Governor Inslee as Director of the Department of Commerce in January 2013. We are thankful and fortunate that he has joined us and taken the time today to discuss an important topic for our state and community. Please help me welcome Director Brian Bonlender.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that introduction. And thank you to the Tri-Cities Chamber and TRIDEC. You might not realize this, but I view you, and I think others view you as a model for collaboration and willingness to try new ideas for economic development. You know, I'm always on the lookout for what works and what communities are trying, so I can see how to replicate that and do that elsewhere in the state. And you all are certainly a model for how that works well, and so I hope that you recognize that. I always like getting back here. I'm from Yakima, so I get to see family and friends, and that's great. But it's also another, I think, aspect of the communities around here that I see that seems a little different is that things just seem more tight-knit, and folks have a willingness to work together to solve common problems and set aside ideological differences and things like that. And so it's sort of inspirational in that sense to and recharging to see that. So the topic, the subject of my speech, the importance of place and economic development. Now I have to confess that I just learned the title of it after I wrote the speech. I learned of it yesterday when I got into town, but it works though because I'm giving an overview of how the state, the Department of Commerce, and Governor looks at economic development. I think it's important to think about and to understand how the place, how the investment in community, how that works with the other pieces and other things that are going on with economic development. So before I get into that, I want to say a few things about the budget that passed. So we went into extra innings. So the session was long and difficult and challenging, but at the end of the day, the budget that was produced is a very good budget and something that you're hearing the governor, Republicans, and Democrats all saying good things about and still looking at it in a positive manner, which that oftentimes and usually does not happen. So there's a lot to be proud about from the legislator's point of view. From the governor's point of view, he achieved a lot of his priorities, $1.3 billion for K through 12 basic education, including funding for all-day K, reducing class sizes in K through 3 to 17, and an historic investment in early learning, that's pre-K, tuition cuts for college students, and expansion of financial aid, which was driven by the Senate, and critical mental health investments to reduce wait times and prevent psychiatric boarding, more child protective and welfare services, prevention and response to oil spills along the rail lines, funding for state parks, COLAs for teachers and state employees for the first time since 2008, a $3.9 billion capital budget that will create about 21,000 jobs, and also funds Clean Energy Fund 2, which is an important program for the PNNL, and then the transportation package, which is a 16-year, $16 billion transportation infrastructure investment to get at some of our most congested areas, to help get products to port quicker. And that alone is projected to create an estimated 200,000 jobs just in the construction activities associated with that. So it's a huge deal, and it also authorized $15 billion for additional transit investment in the Puget Sound region with the Sound Transit for their light rail and so forth. So we look forward to seeing that unfold over the next 10 years. So in all, it was a very good budget, and it was helped, that whole process was helped by the fact we had a growing economy, and it created more tax revenue, and it made it easier to eventually, for legislators to get out of town. And so on some level, folks in this room should take some level of ownership and pride, knowing that your activities, which help to grow the economy, ultimately help the state make these other critical investments necessary for our long-term growth. Economic development is a ever-evolving and changing art. And I think Carl Adrian would agree with me on that. Where's Carl? I know he's here. Right? And I think you're seeing it right here play out in Tri-Cities and the different things that you're looking at doing and different approaches you're taking to economic development. That's one thing that makes this job, for me, a lot of fun, because I know that nothing's static in economic development. We need to know what's going on around the country. We need to know what's going on within the state, and we need to be coming up with our own unique ideas. And as I said, Tri-Cities has been a model for how I think communities can work together and how they can develop new ideas. And so the economic economic gardening work that Lori and I talked about, she briefed me a little bit on that work you're doing when I ran into her at the WIDA conference in Portland. That's an example of a new idea. Tri-Cities will be the first community to take a shot at economic gardening. It's been done quite successfully elsewhere in the country. I'm already looking for other places in the state that we can do this, and Lori explained how that economic gardening process works. But it's really an exciting opportunity because it's something you can see that can really scale both locally and into multiple communities. Also, I want to acknowledge Terry Lawhead here from the Department of Commerce. If you don't know Terry, I'd encourage you to get to know him. He represents the department and the state in all things economic development. He's been working with communities for a number of years now and is a huge asset to the state and to any community who will tap his talents. I also want to take a moment to reflect on the why we do this work on economic development. Excuse me. And to say it succinctly, the why for the Department of Commerce and for me, why we do what we do is to help communities grow and to help communities achieve the kind of positive growth they're seeking. And I think it's important to think about the why and think about problems we can address by growing the economy, because it helps create a compass for us. We have a big challenge in the country and in the state right now with economic disparity. Right, we have we're recovering slowly after the Great Recession, but the recovery is far from equal. You're seeing, as I'm sure many of you know, certain parts of the state are recovering a lot slower. And while we have unemployment numbers as low as almost 3% in Seattle, which is about full employment, and 4% in King County, we have almost double digits in other areas, particularly rural communities. Northeast and in the counties on the peninsula. I think the Tri-Cities area is still a little bit above the national level. So, and there's also disparities in economic opportunity for people from low-income backgrounds, for communities of color. So thinking about I think it's important to keep these things in mind, because we have opportunities here in these activities to address some of those challenges that could ultimately, I mean, if this disparity thing continues, we trend towards looking more like the Dominican Republic, which is not a place that we want to live, and is not a place in which that attracts the kind of investment and the kind of economic activity and company location and just families living there. I mean, we need a vibrant and strong middle class, and many of the jobs that economic gardening and these other things we talk about create helps build that middle class. So at a 30,000 foot level, the things that I think about when looking at economic development and how the department looks at it, I put them into sort of 4 categories. 1 is our economic climate or our business climate. 2 is community development, our place, why place matters for economic development. And 3 is our, and this is in part place as well. This is a focus on sector-based economic development to ensure we're ramping up and maximizing the engines of our economy. And then the last is our marketing and our ability to sell the state, which is dependent on all those other 3. So for economic climate, that includes things like transportation, education, workforce development, our regulatory system, and that's one area on our regulatory system that I'm working on with some folks, other folks in the department and other agencies. We're trying to find ways that we can systemically improve our regulatory system so that it's just easier for small businesses in particular to comply. We're not trying to lower standards, but there's a ton of work that can be done just to make it less costly and less burdensome to achieve the kind of protections that the public demand. And so we launched a manufacturing pilot program that roadmaps everything it takes for a manufacturer to open a new facility or expand a new facility. Everything it takes on a city level, a county level, and a state level. And I have a pretty good handle of this because I had a job for a couple of years where I'd go around the state and consult with businesses to help them comply with regulations and various compliance issues and liability issues. And I remember thinking on multiple occasions that some of these companies should not have to be hiring somebody like me to manage this stuff. This stuff should be way simpler, and there are tons of opportunities to do that. And we're already seeing it in this manufacturing pilot we're doing, where we've taken 3 cities in Snohomish County to start, and we've started mapping out what it takes step by step to opening a manufacturing facility. And we're already finding a lot of differences just in a city that might be 15 miles away from another one. They might be trying to achieve the same objective. They have completely different language in which they use to describe what they're doing, different metrics to achieve the same result. Totally different processes and different timelines. And so if you're a small business owner and you're expanding into another town, you have to hire somebody to manage this stuff. And so we're finding efficiencies there. And then once we get this have this done in Snohomish County, we're going to start scaling it around the state. And I know that can work because we're already doing it we've done it with the restaurant industry. We launched a couple years ago a similar effort as to what it took to open a restaurant. And we decided we would start in Seattle because we figured that's probably the hardest place in the state to open a restaurant, and dealing with all those levels of bureaucracy. And we got the map done. It's been highly successful, very useful for restaurants. And since then, we're now expanding it to Spokane and Tacoma and a couple of other cities. And it's a lot easier, a lot quicker, and a lot cheaper because we already know what we're doing. We have the blueprint. And so I'm really looking forward to getting that blueprint for manufacturing. And if you're if a city is interested in participating in the next round of those, please let me or Terry know. So the second category, community development, which certainly the subject of the title of this talk, this is all about building those communities in which you want to live, in which you want to raise a family, in which your family wants to stay, and communities that will become a magnet and attract others to want to stay and others to open a business there. I think as Carl or anyone will tell you who have worked on the recruiting side of things, there's a point at which a company will have an ultimate gut check as to if they want to move, and oftentimes that comes down to things like how spouses feel about a place and how the family imagines, or families of executives imagine themselves being part of that community. And so having a place where you can create a draw and where people feel comfortable that they're going to have access to the kind of amenities and the qualities of their community that either they're used to or that they hope for is absolutely critical in attracting talent and attracting businesses and in encouraging those homegrown businesses to stay. So the Department of Commerce, is the foremost state agency dealing with community development. We have a number of programs. We do community development block grants. We build infrastructure and finance infrastructure for water systems and sewer systems. We have a number of community support services. We do housing and a whole variety of other things. One thing I think that we need to do a better job, though, of is articulating how community development and economic development are effectively one and the same. I mean, it's a distinction without a difference in my mind, and so I'm working internally about better explaining that, and what's driving my thinking is very similar to what your marketing branding study concluded about place and about community and about what the needs are for community to community. And the more I get around the state, the more I see that one town's community development is another town's economic development, and these things from housing to local infrastructure to a farmer's market and a community center, they are economic development for a lot of communities depending on what their needs are. That was sort of crystallized for me when I headed this task force to address to help the communities affected by the Carlton Complex fire last year, to help them recover. And their top 5 things amongst those communities were housing, community center, water infrastructure, what you would think is more traditional economic development and recruitment and so forth, and then a whole bunch of stuff involving state and federal land issues. But I think that getting people to think about this, and you guys are ahead of the curve, is absolutely critical to have a cohesive strategy that sort of getting these elements together to work to feed off of one another. Like I always imagine like a pinwheel where you have these sort of rockets on each on an arrow that kind of points in a circle, and if you light one of them, the wheel kind of spins like this, and if you light 2 of them, it spins a little faster, and if you light 3 of them, it spins a lot faster. And you need to have all those things lit. And community development is a huge rocket on that pinwheel. And if you don't have that, and if it's a negative, then you effectively have that rocket trying to head the other way, and it hurts every other effort that you're making. some of the projects, just to give you a sense of some of the things at least the Department of Commerce does with respect to community development, or what we've done locally. The Port of Benton Railroad Bridge replacement that was funded in part through the Public Works Trust Fund, which is in the Department of Commerce. In Kennewick, we funded the Thompson Hill Reservoir and Booster Pump Station. We used CURB money to fund the Port of Pasco's industrial office space project. In West Richland, Public Works Trust Fund provided $2.8 million to support wastewater treatment facility, and $6 million for from the drinking water state revolving account. And just to give you an idea, we're often used as an agency to pass through great ideas. So, for instance, Senator Brown, she's been a big champion for modular generating electricity from modular nuclear technology, and so she included a proviso which went through the Department of Commerce that ultimately landed at TRIDAC to map out a plan for leveraging the community's assets here in that space to hopefully eventually manufacture some of those modular units. A couple of other things: solar panels at the Columbia Basin College. That's going to save something like $2.3 million over 15 years. LED lighting system in West Richland, which I understand the mayor estimated city will save about $700,000 in energy costs a year. So again, those are all sort of community development activities that the legislature tasks us with. So you should thank your legislators for those projects too, and that we work on, and that if you have projects along those lines and you have different ideas, then please get in contact with Terry over here so we can start working with you on them. So another example of what I look at as community development is our Startup Washington initiative. And Ron, I don't know, where'd Ron go? Ron, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but sounds like you would really love it. So we saw it, the governor saw it, and we actually got more money from the legislature than we had asked for the Startup Washington effort. And so our goal with this is to re-energize communities and businesses with entrepreneurial spirit, whether they're big or small. So we're going to designate 2 centers for entrepreneurial success in the state, and we're going to do them both in Eastern Washington, in part because of the activity that's already going on here, and in part because it's just, I think they're better set up to do this. The program's is designed to assist in the creation, stabilization, and growth of regionally based businesses by linking networks of individuals experienced in businesses, the mentors, to provide guidance with regional companies or proteges in needed expertise. And some of these activities are modeled after a program under PNL's leadership that does similar work and provides an online database that helps small businesses and entrepreneurs in the Tri-Cities. And they also have a mentor protege program, I understand, that we're going to be learning from and possibly just outright copying if it's that successful. This will be a little bit broader. I think the P&L stuff is focused appropriately on the sort of technological innovations they work on there. So this will be more broad in terms of anything from a bakery to a manufacturing facility. So last year, this is sort of hatched out of the Global Entrepreneurship Week, and Washington State was a standout state for that last year and the year before, and that we had a lot more events than most other states. This is a weekly deal that's organized by the Kauffman Foundation, and we had something like, I think, over 100, Terry? Over 100 meetings in our state, in communities, tiny communities, large communities, all over the place. Entrepreneurs, people who want to be entrepreneurs, people who are successful entrepreneurs coming together to talk about how they can help one another succeed. And so the Startup Washington is attempting to sort of capture that energy and provide less of an ephemeral, once-a-year thing and more of a permanent, ongoing effort to facilitate that kind of work. You all had, I think Pasco coordinated the startup weekend last year, and there are a couple other events that occurred here in the Tri-Cities for Global Entrepreneurship Week, which, Ron, I'm sure you're quite familiar with, right? Okay. So I've covered economic climate, community, and community development, and I want to talk quickly on branding and marketing. Again, this is critical to the extent that you have your place for economic development, to the extent that you can utilize your community and its assets as a tool for branding is very helpful. And I can tell you, in trade missions I go on where I'm meeting with companies that are looking at expanding and are thinking about Washington State, they want to see these sort of unique characteristics, and they're looking for things that make communities stand out from one another. And so having that, if for no other reason, when a company is looking to expand, they'll sometimes be looking at a lot of different states and a lot of different communities, and just getting to that top 10 or top 5, you need to have something just to get there. And so, and I can tell you, having these community assets certainly helps keep you in that narrowed down field. So within the Department of Commerce, so we do international trade missions. We do our foreign direct investment efforts. We help small businesses around the state export and identify markets and actually identify buyers of their products. So we're sort of building the exporting pipeline constantly over time. A couple of the companies that we've worked with locally, Tylite, a wheelchair company in Pasco, and are they a member? Oh, that's Ron. That was not planned. This is a speech about Ron today, I guess. And Gordon Brothers and Clar Sellers, they were participating in an inbound foreign direct investment project in identifying overseas buyers. One thing that sometimes you hear, there's sort of a debate that in economic development right now that I don't think should necessarily be occurring. There's some who say you have to do community development or you have to do recruitment and marketing and so forth, but you can't do both. And the reality is that you have to do both. And the reality is that they help one another. I was listening to a counterpart of mine somebody who runs an economic development agency in another state. I won't say the state. And his argument was, we need to not do any recruitment. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. And we shouldn't be doing branding. We should just focus on building our communities. And I think that misses the boat. It's absolutely true. You have to build the communities. It's critical, particularly once you get a company to your community, to actually win that effort. But I mean, the fact is, thousands of companies a year are looking for places to expand, and they hire site selectors, and site selectors have to figure out a way to winnow down potential locations. And so you have to have both sort of prongs of these things working, and when you get them both working really well, they help one another enormously. So I just want to say that because I want to ensure that we're still investing in both of those techniques. The final thing that I want to mention is our industry sector development. We're blessed in Washington State with having incredibly vibrant, strong industries. I mean, it's hard to think of another state, maybe maybe California that has the type of variety and diversity of industries that are doing very well. So our agriculture and food processing, clean tech, maritime, ITC software, our life sciences industry. We have major defense installations, which make up quite a big sector of our economy. These other states really covet that, and they want what we have, and they're actively working every day with their strategic plans to figure out how to capture that. Whether they're targeting us specifically or not is besides the point. But it speaks to the need for us to focus on these sectors ourselves, because they are the engines of our economy. We know if they're 5 to 10 years from now, if they're doing well, our economy is probably doing well. If they're doing poorly, our economy is probably doing poorly. So Governor Inslee established this sector-based strategy program early on, and I put it together in our Department of Commerce, and we've hired up the sector leads, and they've put together strategic plans for each of these sectors, with the exception of ITC, because we don't have the funding for ITC, and that's working quite well. And one thing that's become clear in just going through that process is the state also needs to be doing a better job of helping to coordinate our research institutions with our private industry to grow more advanced manufacturing facilities and attract new companies. And this is a trend that's occurring elsewhere. Regions around the country they're better aligning their R&D and industrial infrastructure along the German model of manufacturing, which create places where there's a particular capability within an industry that attracts and grows like-minded and similar industries, creating these little mini clusters of expertise. The federal government is promoting this activity through hundreds of millions of dollars through programs such as the National Network for Manufacturing Initiative, or NNMI, and there's a variety of other things they're doing to promote that. And it's something that Judd Verdin here with PNNL has been prodding me to pull this group together and better coordinate the things we're doing. And I think we are getting together tomorrow to initiate that, and I'm very excited by it. And I think it's going to open up opportunities for the Tri-Cities. I mean, you have PNNL right on site, which, by the way, is a sort of a standout lab amongst the DOE labs for technology transfer already. You have WSU Tri-Cities and Pullman not too far away. I think that this is an area where there should be considerable opportunity to develop some of these centers of expertise that help add to your place that you're able to market and use to help grow your economy. So I just want to close by saying, and then I'll take questions. I just want to close by saying that I think everybody knows this. We live in the most competitive economy in world history, really. And every day is more competitive than the last, right? Tomorrow's going to be more competitive than today. And we have to be doing these things. We have to be constantly reevaluating what we're doing. We have to have the courage to stop doing stuff that's not working and do things that have been successful elsewhere and come up with new ideas ourselves to not just keep up, but to grow. And again, that's what, in my mind, makes this kind of work so exciting. And the piece that is most rewarding for me is seeing what happens on a local level. It's the kind of work that Terry does every day, because you actually see the on the ground the benefits of communities sort of taking their own destiny in their hands and deciding what kind of future they want for themselves, and then just building it. And I love being a part of that and helping that. I think it helps, doing so helps ameliorate some of those other challenges we have around raising revenue and economic disparities and so forth. So that's my talk, and I would love to take any questions that anyone might have. Yes, back here. Well, thank you for bringing that up. I meant to talk about it because I met with the folks at Vista yesterday. Where are they? I think they said they're going to be here. Here. And I meant to mention that. I think that's a perfect example of how a place can help attract. I mean, there's certain. I don't know how familiar you all are with the Vista idea. Probably fairly familiar. There are people who look for that type of living, right? That type of environment, or if not to live there, to have that kind of ambiance and to be able to participate in sort of a different feel. And I think that the project is. You have this huge opportunity with this massive tract of land in an urban area. I can't think of any other place in the state where you have that kind of an opportunity, and that plan I think is a very ambitious and very potentially hugely rewarding way to utilize that. Rather than just kind of letting it go and just sort of see what grows there. And so I'm very happy to see what I can do to help facilitate that. And I think that it's probably a little bit early right now to in their planning for our department to involve ourselves directly. I don't think they quite know what kind of help they might need from us. But I think just getting smart on it, if Terry isn't already, and helping guide them along the way is something we can certainly initially do. But no, I think that project is great, and I think it'd be really beneficial for this area, not just Kennewick, but the whole Tri-Cities area to have a place like that. Anything else? Yeah, Carl.
So, because the legislative session went on so long this year, obviously the interim is a lot shorter. We're 6 months away from them being back in session. Do you have some thoughts now about what your priorities might be in the next session?
Yeah, we haven't sat down to map that out yet, but we have to do that in the next couple of weeks because we're already being asked for that by the governor's office and OFM. There are a number of things that I'm thinking about. I really hope the Startup Washington thing, I hope that we can get a little bit of traction on that in the interim to then go back to the legislature, ask for a little more money so we can do that in some other communities. Senator Brown and I talked yesterday about LRF, which is a tax increment financing mechanism, which actually could very well help Project Vista. And I'd be interested in running that down, although we don't want to set too high of expectations. There's some huge barriers to that. Nonetheless, I think it's a tool that can be used by a lot of communities to particularly now that we kind of know better how it works, now that the economy isn't collapsing, which is kind of the situation when it was first established last time. I think there's a lot more opportunities for that. I have some ideas on how to provide more stable funding for the Department of Commerce, which I'd mentioned to you, Carl, about using some unspent lottery money for that. Economic development gets like this last legislative session. The focus was appropriately on education and transportation, and everything else was number 10, 20 on the list. It was education, transportation, 1 through 19, which makes some sense, because if we're not financing either of those, then we're dooming ourselves to we're dooming every one of our communities to not being able to thrive. So it totally made sense from an economic development point of view just to catch up on those. But it sort of left us, I believe, we've seen a huge divestment from economic development by the state beginning 6 years ago. I've seen my department, this is before my time, but between 5 and 6 years ago, we had about a 40% decrease in our FTEs. We had people who were out in the communities doing more of what Terry is doing, and haven't been able to provide that service. Now I'm trying to find a way to do that, so we have more than just one person, Terry, handling the whole state. So I think one possible way of doing that is to have some more secure set-aside dollars for economic development through the unspent lottery dollars. I know there's a ton of other things that we're thinking about. I mean, we have to, our Public Works Assistance Account, which is the Public Works Trust Fund, that did not get funded again, and it didn't, and the projects weren't financed through bonds, which was a bit of a surprise. And I think there's some questions about how that is serving communities, and is it serving the right communities? And I think those are legitimate questions that we need to answer and find out, and think through possibly alternative financing mechanisms for that account to buy down costs for local communities to do that kind of infrastructure. That's absolutely going to be a priority in the next couple of months as well. And again, there are a number of other things that I'm just probably not thinking about at the moment. Anything else? Nope. Okay, well, thank you again for having me.
So, Brian and I, by the way, I'm totally off script, so. Brian and I just met a couple, an hour ago, and I feel like he's a brother. and part of it is both my brothers are much smarter than I am, so thank you, both you and Terry, for what is to have state officials come in and to really understand our community the way you did. You demonstrated knowledge that really surprised me. You may do that all the time, but it was great to hear what you understood about our community. And he gave me the opportunity to talk about entrepreneurship again. So thank you. And I'm going to do it very quickly, but he talked about Startup Washington. He talked about some of the other activities that are going on in the state. And what we've been talking about is building a startup community here. And it takes all these components from the state government to the local government to do those things. And there's things going on here. I've mentioned the Fuse before. If you don't know about the Fuse, go figure it out if you're interested in entrepreneurship and in small businesses. There's a HAFIC program, a loan program that exists. TriConf just happened this weekend, and a big part of TriConf is startup businesses and technology, which is so key. So there's these startup things that are happening here. It's not just about small businesses. It helps larger businesses. And it makes sense. We have P&L, we have these assets where we have so many PhDs, and there are children here, and they want to do something different and unique. So it's pretty amazing what we have here. And then he also talked about combining community development with economic development. I thought that was a great comment. And then he also talked about this idea of being able to both market outwardly and also build inwardly. And with TriDec and with Visit Tri-Cities and with the Chamber, we have these groups that do all that collectively. And, he mentioned a couple times that we can be a little bit ahead of the curve, and we are. And it's kind of amazing this small community has the potential to create these assets. Last thing is this idea of industry sectors. You mentioned Germany. I've traveled in Germany a lot more than I want to. It's really true. It's amazing what you see there. And we're the greatest country in the world. We're the greatest economy in the world. But there's definitely things we can learn from an industry like that, a country like that, and how they do it. And, you know, one example of that potential here is obviously these small modular nuclear reactors. I mean, we really have a foundation for setting ourselves apart in an industry sector that, as energy becomes more difficult as we move forward, could be pretty critical. So thanks again. It was a great talk. So now I'd like to introduce Lisa Nelson, our event director, to give away our door prizes. Lisa. So it's also Lisa's, and I'm going to say this, I hope you don't mind, 25th birthday, because she's you know, over half my age. So I think 25 is pretty damn good. So can we 1, 2, 3 say happy birthday to Lisa? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Lisa.
Thank you. Oh, it's just the best birthday ever. All day long, everyone's just so nice to you. I almost took all these door prizes home with me because it's my birthday, but I'm not going to. I'll give them away. First, we have a $25 gift card from the Country Gentleman. It's going to Bruno with Culligan. So you can just come forward and we'll give that to you. A 2-night stay in one of their corporate suites. This is from Paragon Corporate Housing. This is going to Jane Foreman with Trideck. And lastly, a $100 gift certificate for TCT Computer Solutions. This is going to Kershed with Solar Spirits. And thank you to all of those member businesses who donated. If you're interested in donating, you can see me after the program. Thank you.
So again, thank you for Brian and Terry for taking their time out of their busy schedule to have a great presentation for us. To the staff of the Pasco Red Lion, it always does a great job. To Charter Communications, they're in the back that makes us all look good. For filming and rebroadcasting today's program across the Metro Tri-Cities, and a sincere, again, for all of you being here, because it's nothing without you. The next Network Tri-Cities Luncheon coming up on Wednesday, August 26th, here at the Red Lion again. Congressman Dan Newhouse is going to speak. What a great speaker to have, you know, as he becomes familiar with his new role. So Congressman Newhouse will give us an update on the important issues impacting our community right now in D.C. This will be his first ever congressional update at our luncheon, and we hope you all join us and bring along your colleagues as well. So thank you again. We appreciate your time this afternoon. Remember, it's great business to do business with Tri-City Regional Chamber members. Thank you.